So the Dodgers had the best record in baseball this season with 104 wins. And earlier in the season, Sports Illustrated asked about the Dodgers on its cover, best team ever. Stephen A., if LA doesn't win tonight, win the World Series, obviously, is this season a failure?
Absolutely, it is. I granted they haven't won a World Series since 1988, but they haven't gotten to a World Series since 1988 either. So the theory is, or the thinking is, that you got into the World Series, so it's a successful season. Nah, not cutting it. You've got the highest payroll. You've got the best starter in the game. You've got the best closer in the game. You've got a formidable offensive lineup. To experienced veterans to young stars like Puig and Bellinger and others. There is simply no excuse. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking at the Astros, and I'm not saying it's no excuse because the Astros are so inferior. That's not where I'm going with all of this. I'm saying when you go through what you go through, and you assemble the kind of roster that they've assembled, and you've made the kind of moves that they've made. We got to remember, somebody as reliable as Curtis Granderson hasn't even played in the World Series. And so when you look at what they're bringing to the table from an offensive standpoint, from a pitching standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, the bullpen was something that was raved about throughout this postseason. You've got starters, you've got your closer, you've got this offensive firepower. Dave Roberts has done a great job reeling Puig in as well in terms of his temperament and his approach to the game, his discipline. All of these things being considered with the money that you've doled out in the second largest market in the United States of America, you got to close the deal. You got to finish it off, especially if you're the Dodgers and you're tired of them showing footage of that Kirk Gibson home run to end Game 1 of the World Series in '88, which they went on to win in 5 games against the A's. You have to close the deal to make sure the current generation, the current crop of Dodgers are recognized for the great team that they are. If you don't finish the deal, you're tantamount to the Golden State Warriors going 73-9, but losing in the finals. Nobody cared in the end because you didn't finish the deal like Michael Jordan had told Joe Lacob, the owner for the Golden State Warriors at the time. You don't finish the deal, it means absolutely nothing. The Dodgers have to finish the deal.
Well, they're going to have to finish the deal in this era, but not necessarily with this team. It's not a failure. Look, the Dodgers, it's not like they're playing an inferior team. They had 104 wins to the Astros 101. This is a matchup, World Series matchup of 200-plus win teams. In fact, the Astros had a marginally better run differential, 196 to 190. The Astros are a great team, and unlike the Dodgers, when that cover came out and it was like, is this the greatest team ever? That was before they went into one of the worst, maybe I would say the worst losing streak I've ever seen by a great team. I've never seen a team that was once called maybe the greatest team ever in the same season lose like the Dodgers did, right? It's been a curious season for them. But now they're in the World Series. They haven't won it in the Kershaw era yet. I understand why it's like, well, if they lose, it's a failure. But this is a team with the biggest payroll in baseball. It's likely to continue being the biggest payroll in baseball. They have the most analytically driven front office. Friedman took it from Tampa and brought it to the Dodgers. And so they're playing money ball. They're playing money ball better than anyone else, and they're playing it with more money than anyone else, meaning they will be continually in the playoffs for the foreseeable future. This is not their only shot to win the World Series. And finally, I'd say, Stephen A., baseball keeps you company. That's the kind of sport it is. All year you put it on. Maybe you're not watching every inning. The kids are running around or whatever. You have friends over. Maybe you're by yourself and it can be wallpaper. It just keeps you company for like 6 months. And you mean to tell me in like the 175th or whatever game it is, the Dodgers have kept their fans company at just about the highest possible level the whole time. And if it comes down to the very last game that could possibly be played in the season where they've given their fans thrills the entire time, they come up just short. And by the way, next season they'll be right back in the mix. And for the foreseeable future, that is a failure of a season? No, a disappointment at the very end, clearly. Suboptimal, yes, by like one thing, right? By one win at the end of the season. Right. But this is not the Golden State Warriors. They didn't turn out to be the winningest team ever. And it's not like they're never going to be back in this era. A disappointment, yes. A failure, no.